Gage, welcome to the Retail Horror Podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I'm super excited because you reached out a while ago, and you had talked about you were changing something and you had said you got a tattoo, do it afraid. And I was so excited that you had shared that with us. And I think we shared it as a post as well. So before anything else, tell everyone about why you have that tattoo.
So it was a phrase that you would say a lot, and it was a good reminder. I'm very careful, and I try to think through everything that I do. And so it was a reminder that sometimes you have to just do it and figure it out as you go. And so I got that tattoo, and then I want to say within the next week, we learned of a second building that was coming available that we ended up getting and opening up a second retail store within our first year in operation.
I love my favorite. I mean, I always say, I love the phrase "do it afraid," but I will always say, if you're not sure, just jump. Like you're going to be afraid anyway. I think truly you have to take risks. I don't think that you can be in this industry and play it safe and just kind of watch from the sidelines. I think there's already a lot of risk, but I think taking purposeful risks, I think, are part of the game.
For sure. For sure. It makes you buy into it. If there's no risk, then you can just stop.
What is it? No risk, no glory? No. What is it? There's some phrase.
I feel like that's it.
Tell everyone about your brand, Still Magnolia, and explain both parts, because you are one of the few people that we've had on that has retail as well as wholesale. So start with the story of Still Magnolia, the retail space, and then let's talk about the wholesale adventure.
There we go. So Still Magnolia as the retail store, we originally opened with the goal of being able to help local makers and showcase them. And my entire life, I've always made things. And so it was a way to get rid of some of the collection of products that I've made throughout the years. And so we originally opened with that mindset. And as the store grew, as the store continued to grow, we started making a lot more of our own products. And I'm super ADD and my wife is not. And so I start a project and a hobby, and then next thing you know, I move on to the next. And so at the point that we had over 200 items that we were making in-house ourselves, I was like, we probably should start trying to wholesale some of this stuff. We enjoy making it. And so we started wholesaling, and we would only wholesale the products that we make in-house. And so now our retail store is about 80% of our own product. And then we have about 10 to 15 local makers we still work with.
So when you say local make, like when you say you were making things, like what type of store? It's a garden store, correct?
So it did not start that way. So we started selling live plants, and then in true nature, me and my wife both got addicted to plants. And then next thing you know, we had pallets of plants showing up because I had the company card. And so the store is overrun with plants. So Still Magnolia, we produce everything from stationary products, so stickers, greeting cards. We have plantable greeting cards, so after you give it to someone, they can rip it up and plant it. We have a line of all natural cleaning products, so all-purpose cleaners, produce washes, toilet bowl cleaners, scrubbing pastes. We have a wood line, so we do everything from build-a plants to flower presses to wood embroidery kits to kids painting kits and yarn embroidery kits. We have products that we supplement in-house. So we do custom tea towels with different town names. We do phone wallets. We do a little bit of everything.
Okay, there's so many questions I have. Okay. So when you first transferred your own quote inventory over, was that's kind of the same step that you started continue to produce, or was that totally different inventory?
It was a little bit of both. So I had already purchased a sublimation printer and heat press that we had in our shed in the backyard. I had screen printing presses that were in the backyard. I did uh, wire wrapping and metal stamped jewelry for a long time. So a lot of the equipment I had already had. And then as things progressed, I would see a product that I wish that we had in the store, and it either didn't make sense for us to wholesale it. We are in a tourism town. It's a very small uh, community. And so a lot of the price points of things that we found through either fair or through going to the mart just didn't make sense. And so we decided that we could potentially make it ourselves at a lower cost. And so that's what we did. I didn't know anything about formulating chemicals until we started doing it.
Okay, okay, we have to back up to what did you do prior to opening a store? What did your wife do? And what did you do prior to opening the store?
So me and my wife, so my wife is the operations coordinator for the local chamber, the business chamber in our community. And before that, she did banking, and she just finished her master's in forensic psychology. And then I started working in a restaurant when I was 14.
Yes.
The restaurant had a gift shop that was connected to it. And so I worked there for many years. And then when I was 21, I was trying to get a part-time job in a coffee shop because I've always loved the atmosphere of coffee shops. And then I got hired on before they opened their first location. And then the day after we opened, I was moved from just a barista to the assistant manager because we had lots of issues that went on. And I had 8 years of experience in hospitality at that point. So I was having to fix the POS system. I was fixing the espresso machine. And then a month and a half later, I became the manager of that restaurant or the coffee shop. And then a year later, we acquired another coffee shop. So I got to build out the entire coffee shop, and it was a dessert bar and bakery. And I had experience in the restaurant I worked at as a baker. So I built a full menu from baked goods to sandwiches to espresso drinks to mixed drinks.
Oh my God, you are so ADD.
I really am.
True mark of an ADD person of like, oh, and then I started this and oh, but what an amazing education to be able to learn all that. Because I'm sure a lot of it you were learning like hands-on as you were going. And that's what I always say is probably the best way to learn things is hands-on through trial and error.
Yes. It allowed me to learn how to own my own business on someone else's dollar.
I love that. So you tell everyone what city you're in again, because we haven't mentioned that yet.
So we are located in Pine Mountain, Georgia. So we are about an hour and a half south of Atlanta, and then about 40 minutes from north of Columbus.
I wish I knew that. I would have come out because I just got back from there. I would have come out. You guys open your store and you open with your products. And then how many other creators do you have, and how did you curate the mix? Because you sound like it sounds like it's basically a home product store. So it's not like it has to be quote categorized, but how did you bring in other makers, and what do they bring to the table that you weren't already obviously making, I'm assuming?
Yes, ma'am. So when we opened, we had about 12 local makers. And have you ever seen the show Schitt's Creek?
Mm-hmm.
So we were going for a Rose Apothecary vibe. That's one of my favorite shows. And so we were very particular on who we worked with in regards to a lot of times with makers, there's a very wide spectrum of what you can get. And so we tried very hard to find makers that were along the same style that we were, that had really good products and whose like their packaging was on point. And so we focused more on if it would fit with our feel. And so we had, our store is broken up a little bit. We have 3 different rooms. And so we utilized each room to kind of make its own space. So we had a room that had nothing but clothing and jewelry and accessories. We had an area that had like the candles, all natural cleaning products, soaps. And so we tried to merchandise with different makers. So trying to collaborate within them and showcase all of them.
So when you were doing these rooms, is it an old house? Is that why it has different rooms?
No, it's the building that we are in now. It is in downtown, but it at one point was an attorney's office and a day spa.
Gotcha. So it has,
So it is almost like a shotgun house. It's very narrow, but it goes very deep.
okay. Is it this? That'll be another question later. I always with the stores that have these separate little rooms. The first thing that pops in my head is loss prevention, but we won't get to that yet. I will circle back around on that. So it sounds like within these little rooms, you have these different categories. Before you brought the people in, like, did you try and do it without other makers, or was it just, did you know from the onset, we want to bring in other people? And is it on consignment or are you buying it outright?
So we knew from the very get-go that we wanted to work with local makers. My parents had a store that was similar, and they closed a year prior to us opening. And so I already had a lot of the connections. And so we decided to go with that route. And we had 7 days from when we signed the lease to when we wanted, or from when we got the keys to when we wanted to launch.
Wow.
And so we were all for having local makers to help fill the store. And we do almost a mixture. So all of our vendors rent a space, and then there's 10% consignment, which just helps cover the like POS machine, the bags and all. And we went with that route for the fact of it usually causes makers to have more buy-in. If you are able to just drop stuff off and not worry about it being merchandised or taking care of it and making sure your space is full, then it's easily forgotten, versus if you're paying a monthly fee, you're going to make sure that you are there, you're restocking, you're pushing the product. And in my mind, it helped us have a more cohesive relationship with our makers.
Do you find, do they spend a lot of time in their spaces, or do they, because I can only compare it to like the antique stores that I've been in where, everyone has their own spaces. And sometimes like you'll see a lot of, like, one of them, Agora Antique Market, when I was there working in another space, I would see a lot of the owners there a lot. Like they were on the floor, they were selling, they were remerchandising. Like it was very much like they're going to their own store. And then there's other places where there's one by our house in Oregon. I've never seen anyone working in their spaces and they never change.
Yes. We have a little bit of both. We have some makers that are in the store at least every week. And then we have some that come every month to month and a half. With the fact that we're so close to Atlanta, we have makers that will drive 2+ hours to be in the store. So we have a space in the back that a lot of them will drop off merchandise, so that if they're not able to come back, we can restock and merchandise the floor. And we have found, since we're in a smaller building, that if we don't keep things moving, like within the store, that people will walk by the windows and be like, it looks the same as it did last week. And so when we installed all of the shelving in our store, we made sure that they were all compatible with each other in the sense of the sizing. So every month to 2 months, we're moving all of our vendors' spaces around within the store, so that it always looks fresh. And that there's times that people will go into your store and they will only see sections of it. Yeah. And so by moving things around, it constantly creates a new environment.
Fred Siegel used to say, energy creates energy. And as soon as you start unpacking things or moving things around, suddenly people are like, oh, is that new? What are you doing? And a lot of retailers know that, the whole secret of selling something is, or one of the big secrets of selling something is to shuffle your merchandise around. That, it's true. People, and I always tell people that I work with, like, the front opening table has to change at least every 2 weeks. That sounds like a lot for some people, but if you're in a neighborhood like yours, where there's a lot of regular people, regular customers, or people in offices around, and they're constantly walking back and forth past your door, and if they just casually look in and that front table or the windows haven't changed, they will most likely keep going. And that's like, that for some reason is a hard one for a lot of people to swallow. Like they think it's a lot of work to do. And it's like, it's really not. And it really does benefit in sales at the end of the day.
It really does. We've realized that if when we are changing it frequently, and there's times that we'll change it every 3 or 4 days if we're really in the mood. And it definitely increases our sales for the fact of it. People love window shopping, and being able to look at a store through the window makes it feel like they don't have to buy into anything, and they don't have to, they don't feel pressured. Mm-hmm. And so being able to catch their eye and draw them in it's really a cool asset.
So you will literally move like the apparel and the jewelry and accessories into the front and move whatever was in the front and move it to like full on floor shifts.
Yes. So our store is only about 800 to 1,000 feet. And so it's not necessarily a lot. And a lot of the shelving that's on the wall, it's all the same style. And so it's very easy to move a vendor around. And then we have floor displays that are very easy to move. And so we have like clothing racks that are in 2 of the rooms that we will sometimes have plants hanging on and have all the clothing in the back. We'll take that off and hang clothing, hang bags. We're constantly moving things around. Do the people get upset when they were in the front and now they're in the back? Not necessarily, for the fact that that's one of the big things that we talk about in the beginning. And a lot of makers and individuals don't really realize the fact that if something stays in the same place for long periods of time, then people stop recognizing it or even paying it attention. So it does sell. They see the value of it. Yes. And I'm very big on numbers. And so we'll pay attention to if this vendor is doing really well in this spot, but the 2 around it aren't, we'll keep that one there. And then we'll move the other vendors around. And so finding where everyone works best. When you say, because you're a numbers guy, so how often are you sitting and looking at your data? I'm glancing at least 2 or 3 times a week to see what is or is not selling. And I have a full-time job on top of running the store. And so I'm the digital marketing director or digital marketing manager for an e-commerce company. And so I work remotely from our second building in town. And so looking at the data and being able to make decisions based off of what is and is not selling. And I find that sometimes it's easier to make decisions based off of only seeing the data and not necessarily seeing what is selling. Because there's been times that I've been in the store and I'm like, oh my goodness, we're selling a lot of this, to realize that we sold 1 or 2 in the last week and that it's not a hot item like I thought it was. Yeah, I think that I always say, reports the reports don't lie. And one of the things is, I think a lot of people will say, oh, no, I'm in the store all the time. I know how much we sell. And what they don't realize is that whoever decided to move some stuff around and she decided to put half of it over here and half of it over there. So you come in, you're like, oh my God, it's sold out. And then you reorder it and then you turn around and you find it 2 days later, like, oh my God, we didn't sell it. It's over here. Yes. We had that instance a few weeks ago. I went to the store and was like, oh my goodness, we sold way more clothing than I thought. And so I ordered more to find out that we just had it in a different spot, and then we were overloaded with clothing. Yeah, reports don't lie, and this will come out after the gift show. But that's one of the things I talk about is that bring your reports, go through them, plus walk your sales floor and take a look at how the store looks, what concepts held up, et cetera. But that's good that you're a numbers person, because I don't know, I hate math, I hate numbers, and I geek out on reports. I love reports. And I don't know where it came from, because I do not like numbers, but yet I love, I think it's also kind of like, oh, we bought that and look how good it did. It's like it's like a game. Yes. Are you a fan of spreadsheets? No, I mean, okay.
I find the value of them, but if you've listened to this podcast long enough, I talk about I'm not a tech person, and I get on them, and I have tried to do them myself, and all of a sudden the spreadsheet is a totally different shape, and I don't know what I do. I'm not also allowed to go in and like change, which is why Calendly is screwed up. I'm not allowed to go into Calendly because being an ADD and dyslexic, I find backwards ways of doing things, and I backwards way my entire my entire Calendly. So we still haven't figured it out.
Man.
Yeah, that's everyone who's listened to this all knows I'm not tech, but some reason geek out on reports, and I love them, and they're so valuable to understanding and knowing and buying all in on your inventories that they don't lie.
Yes. And one of the things that I realized working with a lot of makers is that they don't necessarily understand the numbers of running a business or how to price items. We'll have lots of makers that come in and they're like, well, what do you think I should sell this for? And it's like, well, what do you have in it? Like, how much time did you spend? What's the material cost? And I learned when I was building my second coffee shop, the lady that I worked with, she was a whiz at spreadsheets. And so she showed me all the different tools that are embedded in them and how you can, like, for a lot of our all natural cleaning products, I have the pricing built down to the drop of an essential oil that we put in it. And it's amazing how useful spreadsheets can be. However, I will say I've learned to make duplicates because I'm the same way. I can very quickly screw up a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I don't. I've got spreadsheets sales reports from a new account, and I'm going through and I'm petrified of screwing them up because they're not mine. So I'm like,
Yes.
I'm very smartly trying to do it very in little short increments because it's usually when I'm tired that these things happen. So tell me a little bit about when you decided now you're carrying your own things. You decided you're going to do we can make it cheaper. You went through a very big, broad scan of products from the housekeeping to dish towels to and all these kits, and you have a full-time job. How and where is the production? Are you doing all this out of your garage?
So we opened up still, and then we got the second building that we opened up, a store called Blooming Magnolia. And it is 2 doors down from Still. So this was the building that we got a few weeks after my tattoo. And so we had a boutique opened here. And then in June of last year, we got one of the largest orders that we had ever done. It was a massive nonprofit that I didn't realize. I thought it was a scam. And I was like, they don't actually want this much. And then I found them on Facebook, and they had over 400,000 likes and followers. And so I was like, oh shoot, this is a real thing. And so I was talking to one of our employees, and the back half of Still we originally were using for production. And it was about a 200 square foot space. So it was not very large, but it's exactly what we needed for the quantity that we were doing. And so I asked Andrew that works for us. He's also one of my best friends. And so I was like, I wish that we could move all the retail into one building and have the production space in Blooming. This building is just over 600 square feet. And so I was like, I wish we could just get everything down there and use that building for production. We could separate the spaces out and it would make things so much easier. And he was like, well, why don't you? You own both of the buildings. You can just switch things around. And
We bought the buildings too?
No, so we rent them. But our landlords are some of the best landlords you could ever have.
That's fantastic.
And so he's like, you have both of the buildings. Why don't you just move the things? So that order caused us to move both of the buildings around. And so Still expanded into the back half where we were using for production. And then we moved all the production into this building. And so we're in a tourism town. So there's days that we don't really have many customers, and then there's days that we're absolutely packed. So the staff that we have is very good about the days that we're slow. That means you have time to first clean the store, and then after that, there's always something to do, whether it's winding yarn or embroidery string, whether it's organizing labels or labeling bottles. There's always something that can be done. And so we have been blessed with an awesome group of people who have bought into the vision of what we're trying to create. And so it's the big thing is just having staff that knows the next thing to do. There's always something to do.
Yeah, I think the phrase was at Z Gallery, you got time to lean, you got time to clean. But that's
Yes.
incredible. Like, so the staff is both selling and packaging and doing stuff for the wholesale. What were your first products that you offered at wholesale, or did you just open it all up to wholesale?
So we originally opened up all of the products. And at that point, we had about 200 that we were offering in wholesale. And your comment, energy creates energy, was one of the reasons why I was like, let's have staff labeling stuff in the store. Like it's at times can be a hassle having to move things from one store to the next, but let's let them do it on the cash drop. If there's like space, let's have them label. And it's been amazing to see how many customers see that we're actually making things in house. So many customers just think that we private label the products, but when people are able to see that we're actively making things, it's amazing how much we've sold of things that we are legitimately just packaging.
Yeah, I mean it's true. It's the energy creates energy. So I can just imagine them like, oh, what is that? What are you guys doing? So like you have 200 products at wholesale is not a casual number. I mean, that's a lot of stuff. And considering you have retail space, 2 retail spaces, you have a full-time job. How come launch 200 all at the same time versus kind of drip water on it because you were already making it, or it just seems like that's
so
a lot.
The motto that I live by is go big or go home.
Yeah.
And I had the idea, or my concept behind it was wholesale was not going to be something that is going to just take off. So the more that we're able to have out there, the better SEO, the search engine optimization, the more chances we'll have that people will actually see our product, and the greater chance we have to possibly make a sale. So it took us about 6 to 9 months before we got a steady line of orders. And so
How did you get it? The word, I mean, along with SEO searches, but how? Because you're not doing gift shows, like it's very much, I'm guessing, kind of like crafters or crafting shows where it's small production. It's not out there in the gift show. It's not like done with the masses. But how do you get it out, and where are most of the stores that are ordering from?
So we primarily use Fair as our wholesale platform. And so their platform has been phenomenal in helping us connect with other retail stores. But we were a part of multiple Facebook groups. And so people talking to other retailers through different groups like that. And then we've had a lot of them just find us through our social media or our website. They'll search for products that they want in their store and then stumble across our store. And then we have information on our homepage about wholesale. And so it was multifaceted in how we were trying to approach it.
That's amazing because it's, I mean, again, like you're running sort of completely different businesses. I mean, really, I mean, you're selling it. So that's why I say sort of, but I mean, by all accounts, it's 2 totally different. Production and retail are 2 totally different things.
Yes. I often question if we made the right decision.
Well, you said it, go big or go home. So when it comes to the personal care or the housekeeping things, that's very different than like printing tea towels or creating these kits. So how is that done in-house as well? Or does somebody else pour and you guys label? This is fascinating.
So it is all made in-house. And we have a very wide spectrum of items that we make. And part of that is because I am ADD. And so I purchase things and equipment and then don't use it for a while. But a lot of it has been the fact that we'll have customers that will come in the store and they will ask for certain things that we don't have. Or we were carrying a line of hand sanitizing sprays. And then part of the way through last year, they decided that they were no longer selling to smaller businesses. And so it was one of our better selling products in the store. And so in a matter of a week, we didn't get an email or anything letting us know they were no longer selling their products, or no longer selling them to smaller businesses. And so the decision was either to lose out on that, those products, or find a way to make it ourselves. And so I spent a few hours researching different competitors and the formulations. And then in about 2 weeks, we had everything in house we had the bottles and we were producing and testing.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Just the
I'm
fact,
telling you.
like, are you like, because these are also chemical compiling of chemicals and scents and everything, like did you Google that as well? That's amazing.
So one of the vendors in our store, she has her master's in natural medicine and health science.
Wow.
And so was a huge resource. And so when I was figuring things out, I would call her and be like, okay, does this make sense? And so she was a huge help in helping us figure out. She had taken classes on how to properly label products, and she taught me a lot about safety data sheets. And like with a lot of the chemicals, they give you exactly the information you need to label them and what can and cannot be mixed. And so she was a huge asset in learning how to do that.
Yeah, I would say, because some things it's literally like a scientist experiment. We interviewed Noble Mix, and he had brought on a food scientist that took like tomato and brought it down to crystalline, where it's an instant drink mix. And just the scientific part of creating food or creating housekeeping or personal care products, for that matter, is not just like I'm gonna make lotion one day and just go out and do it.
Yes. And all of our products are all natural, which makes it a little bit easier in the fact of like we're not having to mess with lye or anything extreme like that. I'm not a fan of pain. And so if it is able to hurt me that bad, it will be a pass for me.
So now you're on Fair and you're producing. Do you think you are going to venture out into like the gift shows and whatnot?
That is my end goal. I love doing events. My family did lots of craft shows growing up, and the restaurant that I originally started working in, we did weddings, and I worked there for almost 10 years. So I love big events. I love planning and orchestrating them. And so we've looked into a few shows, and I'm thinking it will probably be another year or two before we start attending them as vendors. But that is definitely one of the goals.
Well, Atlanta is one of my favorite temp shows. So you'll definitely sure they're in the backyard and you don't have far to go.
Yes. And it makes it a lot easier. We don't have to worry about shipping containers. We can just drive up there.
Yeah. Temps is really, that temp show in particular is where a lot of people launch their brands, because they know there's a lot of people. It's really an amazing show. It's one of my favorites.
It really is. It was the first show it's the only show that I've ever been to. And it was amazing and overwhelming the first time.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool asset to have in our backyard.
When you are looking for new product, are you doing the shows, or are you only looking to crafts makers?
So I do a little bit of both. So I've gone to the Atlanta Mart a few times. And I love the temporary section. That's where we spend most of our time. But we use Fair a lot and working with local makers. Um, we, I feel like with everything with COVID and then the recent issues with tariffs, it has definitely showed being able to source your products as locally as possible is a very beneficial thing. It's much harder, or it is less of a fear of not being able to get what we need for the store.
That's one this episode's already come out, but Caroline with the Locavore in New York, and everything in that store is sourced within 100 miles of New York. And, with the tariff situation, who knows what's going to happen? Because as we're talking, the tariffs are, quote, on hold. But there's so much uncertainty. Like right now, I'm setting up the show in Vegas for July, and a lot of vendors did not bring in a lot of new product because, quite frankly, they're concerned about taking orders on it. And then all of a sudden, the numbers are flipped up again, and like, oh, now our tariff is going to be this much. And the poor retailers who ordered it, either the vendor is going to have to eat it because the customer is going to cancel it, or the retailer is going to take it. And, I think pulling from local makers is definitely one of those changes that's going to be happening in the industry. I mean, I said COVID changed a lot of how retail was done. You didn't have a website, you didn't go on live, didn't have a social media presence. Like, you quickly realized that you were lost. And, and a lot of those stores, it had the very swift way of moving old school retailers and old school mindsets of how we do things. It had a very swift way of moving that out, like in a fast forward motion. And I feel like now with this tariff situation, it's just another big change that's going to fast forward our industry very quickly.
For sure. For sure. I never realized how agile retail was, and the fact of the smallest thing could change an entire supply chain.
Yeah.
And impact what you are able to get in the prices.
I mean, I think what scared me, because I'm in the industry, so I see both sides of it. But I think what scared me the most was when they had talked about, because toy industry is going to get hit the hardest ever, everybody, and how toy manufacturers are saying we're not going to bring anything in when China was at whatever that insane tariff amount was, and one of the she was a vendor or a retailer, and she said, all that's on my shelves, this is all I have. And if the toy companies aren't bringing more product in, I don't have any inventory to purchase. And that means this is all I'm going into fourth quarter holiday sales for. And that to me was like, wow, you can't even project your sales. Like, that's super scary. And I think that was the most eye-opening thing to me.
So the company that I work for, it's called Two Big Feet. And we specialize in men's shoes 14 to 25.
Wow.
So we produce the world's we produce the world's largest shoes in production. And so we had a boat that was scheduled to leave port. We realized that a lot of major shoe brands were cutting back the sizes. And so we decided that we were going to build our own line of products. And so we had a container that was supposed to leave port the day that the tariffs jumped to 225. And so we were able to put that hold, and we called the factory, and they were luckily willing to hold it for us. But it was the same mindset of, well, like, that's our business. Like, we have thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of shoes on a boat that are now in a different country. And it's not like we get that money back. It's not like we didn't already pay for it.
Yeah.
And so you have to learn and go as you can.
So what happens with that inventory? Now we're totally talking about something completely different. So that is all sitting in China, obviously, because I think Zappos was the company that the spokesperson was talking to Congress about projections and stuff on the water and not being able to get it. And so how is Two Left Feet or two is it Two Left Feet?
Two Big Feet.
Are they going to just hold tight with what inventory they have and watch what happens, or?
So it's a small company. So there's 6 employees. So it's not like we're super big, but we sell other brands as well as we were producing our own. So we were able to sell the other brands that had shoes in stock Granted, a lot of them were running low, and the companies didn't have the shoes. But the manufacturer was able and willing to hold it until the recent tariff went down. And so they are currently on a boat and should be here in the next week and a half, 2 weeks.
Get it in before that 90-day mark.
Yes. And what was interesting, most people don't realize, but you don't pay for the tariff until you receive the good. And so the boat coming from China is going to it's a 40-day trip. And so if it was on the water when the tariffs changed, you didn't get to pay the original cost or what it costs when it's shipped. You have to pay what it currently is. And luckily,
I think a lot of people don't, I mean, because there's so many different conversations happening about tariffs. I don't think people understand, because I think there's a whole host of people that still think China's paying for it. And it's like, no, the retailers are, but people are also getting duties invoices from like UPS who are doing, because there's a certain amount of paperwork that has to come with lading. And the UPS is like, now you have your tariff invoice, and now they're getting an additional invoice on top of it for paperwork and for UPS or whoever playing your quote agent.
Admin fees. Yeah.
And I think that I mean, none of this, anyone has even, walked through. So all of a sudden it's like, wait, my cost of goods now, like I have no profit in it. I'm actually owing more than what I'm going to be able to sell.
Yes. It's for sure.
I think for having a local business like you are, I think is truly one of the smartest things. And I think that that's how a lot of the industry is going to end up shifting over. Obviously, we are not a country that produces a lot of stuff anymore, but certainly for small maker things, I think that will help offset some of the cost. With your, oh my God, we just went down the tariffs road. Sorry, everybody, but it is a conversation. The question I did have earlier about loss prevention, you guys are in a building, you have these separate little rooms. How do you handle loss prevention when you're dealing with basically someone walks in another room, and if you don't have somebody in there, the person's left to do what they do?
Yes. So we originally designed the store and have the cash trap at an angle in the front corner, so you can see into all three rooms. And so granted, you may only be able to see in the doorway, but we have cameras set up. And so far in our 2 years, we haven't had much of an issue with theft. And I think a large portion of that has been walking around the store and making sure that if there's just a few people in the store, they are aware that you are moving around and that it's not going to be an easy place to just steal. And I think a lot of times when there is a lot of theft, stores, their employees aren't moving around the store. Mm-hmm. And if my wife is a forensic psychologist, so we have lots of these conversations. But if there is if the person thinks there's a chance of getting caught, they're going to be much more cautious. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of other stores in our town that have way more theft than we do. And the thing that I see over and over again is employees that just sit behind the counter and are reading their books or scrolling on their phone. And I feel like if you are active in the store, then that will deter a lot.
Yeah.
Granted, we are a much smaller store, so it doesn't take much to be active.
A lot of people say the greeter or just saying hello to someone is the first leg of armor you could have, because they know you're there. They just said hi to you. So now they've acknowledged you, and now you're going to, but it's true. The moving around the store, and this must be a restaurant thing. I mean, cause you came in I think a lot of people who are in retail that came out of restaurants, I think so much of what restaurants, I've talked about it a lot, like all the lessons I learned in restaurants all apply to what we do in retail. Mm-hmm. And I think some of them, especially, what is it, like moving around the room like a shark, like the figure 8, I think is what we used to have to do.
Yes.
It really is beneficial. And it's like, I don't think enough people understand that the person, and everyone that's listening, you know the feeling when you go into the gift show and you go into a showroom and it's dead quiet and someone's sitting behind the counter on their phone or on the laptop, and you walk in, it's a weird feeling, and you most times walk away. And that's the same thing it is with your stores. Like if your employee is sitting behind the counter, unengaged, on their phone, talking to somebody, like why would you want to shop there? But more importantly, why would you not want to shoplift from? Because you're like, it's easy target.
Yes. And they're not paying attention.
No.
And the other thing that I've realized is so one of the things that I did in my coffee shops, and I have our employees do now, is getting to know as many of the regulars as you can. When I had my coffee shop, we had a game where at the end of a shift, whoever could memorize the most customers' names throughout their shift would get a Chick-fil-A sandwich or a Chick-fil-A meal or something. And it definitely showed the loyalty in our customer base, and it started a conversation. Yes. And if you're able to have conversations with your customers and get to know them, the relationships that have come from having the coffee shops and my own store, it's been amazing. And you create such a loyal customer base by building relationships.
Yes, I love that. I mean, I think, well, I think both in restaurant, but retail, like to me, your regular customers are like family. And I'm sure it's when I was at Fred Siegel, we all had, all my staff had client books, and it's so old school, but it still works. And sending handwritten notes, like even if they sold only a pair of socks. And that was back in the day before paparazzi, or there's paparazzi, back in the day before there was computers and phones and, cameras on your phone. And so the very elite customers that we had in Fred Siegel were very comfortable giving you their home address. But I always was like, send them a thank you note. And there was something about being, getting home and opening up your mail, and whoever sent you, like, just want to say, thanks so much. I really enjoyed meeting you, or, let me know if I can help you. And my staff, I'm super proud of, because so many of them were so buried into our customers' lives. Some of them babysat for them. Some of them, got to be such good friends. They were like staying at the house, sitting their house and their dogs. And that to me is the ultimate gift of retail, is getting to know your customers like that, and your employees, getting to know them and liking getting to know them.
Yes. So one of the things that we have implemented a lot, because I've loved that style, client books, and people today are very careful about giving you any type of information. But one way that I found that has been really successful for us to connect with our customers is through social media, and being able to showcase our personality on social media, but also interacting with our customers and commenting on their posts. We had a customer that knew that I loved Schitt's Creek from our social media. And so she brought me a gift basket that was full of all this different themed merchandise based off of Schitt's Creek. And it was based solely on interactions on social media. And being able to show your face on social media and being able to build relationships. I was in a meeting in a town about 30 minutes from here. And I had a lady come up to me and inform me that she recognized me from Facebook. She saw a post that someone shared and knew about the store. And I was able to have a 5-10 minute conversation with her. And she ended up coming the next week to visit the store based solely off of the social media.
Well, I love that you guys interact with other people's that follow you, their posts, because so much, it's awesome when you have a lot of followers, but it's very one-sided if they're commenting and sharing your stuff and I love this, but you're not doing the same. And it's like, I know everyone's really busy, but there is something of value in that, of actually participating within social media of your customers. And I think that that's a really important point.
And I originally had the mindset that I was too busy to interact with other people on social media from the business page.
You really are.
But I realized I spend so much time on social media on my own account. You just have to switch profiles and you're able to see and interact with you're still scrolling, and it's been able to, I built a deeper appreciation for a lot of our customers, and being able to learn more about them has been game changing for us.
Oh yeah, because now you can suggestion sell. I mean, that's the best part. It's like,
Yes.
oh, you love this, and did you see this came in this week? That's my favorite part.
And with that, when you are interacting with people, we found so many more customers posting about the plant they got here last week or the clothing that they got. It's when your customers know that you're looking at their social media, they're going to be way more prone to share and tag you in their posts.
I love that.
And
That's social media is I swear it's never going away. And everyone talks about TikTok and how it's going to, I'm like, I don't know if it is, but I can tell you right now, it's like the greatest invention ever, because for a business, TikTok is like, I mean, Facebook is still relevant. I know it's like, I don't spend any time on it, but you mentioned Facebook groups. I know Crystal from Rooted in Retail, her Facebook group, there's so much value, especially with retailers being in social or in groups on Facebook, because it's all like-minded, same thing. But I spend so little time on that, but social media is a make or break for retailers for sure. And those who aren't involved or don't find value in it, because there are a couple of retailers that are like, I just don't have the time, which I can respect, but it is really for a lot of retailers who are struggling with sales. It is your best way to engage your customers and get people in the store.
And one of the things I'll say on that is paying attention to the types of content that you do post and what does and does not perform well. We've learned that a picture of me or my wife with the product, or just a picture of us, will perform a picture of a product on a shelf all day long.
Yep.
And so we've recently started posting more content with ourselves in it. And not only has it increased our social media reach, but more people are coming into the store because they're seeing us.
Yes.
Or they feel like they're building a relationship with us versus just interacting with a page.
It's funny because one of my accounts, Serendipity, Ashlyn, who I adore, she's both my friend, but my client, but she's gorgeous, so beautiful, and so camera shy. And her social media person was like, really, the more pictures you're in, the higher we're getting engagement. And she's like, I don't want to. And now she can't get her offer. Now she's on
Yes.
it. I love it though. And it's true because people want to know you. I mean, people want to know the person behind the brand. People want to know, and it's like, I know, people are somewhat cautious about how much they share as far as political and whatnot, and that's everyone's own, but it really does, your social media and who you are and who you show up to is what people really want. They want to know who you are and what you guys do. And it makes it very personal.
Yes. And I struggled in the beginning very much with wanting to be in the pictures and on the video. And I was like, that's not my cup of tea. That's not what I enjoy. And then I realized, like, I can talk all day long to a customer, especially when I'm excited about a product. Like, I can talk your ear off about something. And I was like, wow, that's all a video on social media should be. It should be nothing about you talking about something that excites you. And it's like having a conversation. And when you treat it as a conversation, it completely changes the way I create the content, but it also changes the way customers interact with it. If they feel as if they're a part of the conversation, they're much more prone to watch the video versus if it's just an advertisement.
Energy creates energy. The more excited you are about it, the more excited you make people about it. I have to ask you, because we're heading into almost an hour, but I have to ask you because you wear a lot of hats. I know you're ADD, much like me, but I also know that there's a point where you hit a wall and your family life or your personal life and your store and your other business, something is going to give. Like, how do you balance? Because you wear a lot of hats, more than probably anyone I've interviewed here.
Go big or go home.
I mean, truly, it's true. I've
had to learn, I my thing is I want to follow what I enjoy. And if the store becomes where it's stressful, then it's it's no longer fun. And so one of the mottos that one of my first bosses ever taught me was don't pay people to do the job that you do enjoy, pay them to do the job that you don't enjoy. And so being able to offload the things that I don't enjoy doing, to be able to keep doing what I do enjoy. And then I I also love watching other stores and what they're doing. There is an amazing store in Tennessee. It's called John Mark Enterprises. I want to say it's in Germantown, but watching the way he has built his store, and he's a florist and a retail store, and seeing his excitement and his energy and seeing everything that other people are doing, it only makes me want to do more.
I'm truly, I still am reeling right now on how much you do. I mean, because I think the hats are so different. And when you go from your retail creative environment or making things or doing the displays, and then you go to a computer job, it's very different. Like, is that hard to switch hats, or is sometimes, like for me, even though I do display and merchant, that's all I do. It's either retail or it's gift setups. And I will say at the end of the gift show setup, I'm so excited to get out of this world and go back to my retailers. Is it kind of the same thing with you? Like, I can't wait to get out of the store and go work on a computer and being quiet. And
very much so. I'm very much a people person, but I love to-do lists and I love getting stuff done. And so being able to balance that has been, I feel like having both of them, not only has it taught me so much, but being able to have a creative outlet, but also being able to get things done, and having a space to do that, I feel like that has definitely helped me.
and your wife, when do you guys see each other?
So we don't have kids, so that makes things a lot easier. But she works about 30 hours at her job. So she is either here at the store with me or we're making stuff together. And a lot of the things that we do create were hobbies of ours at home. And so now we had to get a separate building, a storage shed outside of our house that we then filled with all of our hobbies. And so we now have a building. And so recently we had a friend of ours who also works for us. All of our employees are good friends of ours. And so we were up at one of the stores until 2 a.m. potting plants. And we got pizza and we talked and played games and potted plants for hours. And that, I feel like my goal in having our store is to have a fun place and build community. And so I feel like that has definitely helped us. And I enjoy community.
I love this conversation so much. I really wish I had knew where your store was when I was in Atlanta. I'm supposed to be back there again in January, so hopefully I will come out there because I so want to see it. Please mention your wholesale brand and how people can find it. Fair, obviously, but please give us all the details on your store, socials, as well as your wholesale, because obviously it's a bunch of retailers listening.
Yeah. So our Instagram and Facebook is still STILL, like be still Magnolia GA. And it's the same handle on Fair and on TikTok, although I need to get better about posting on there. TikTok is not a strong suit.
TikTok, it took me a while to really grasp TikTok, and I will say that so much business comes from TikTok. It blows my mind. So guaranteed, you will see. You'll see it reap the rewards. I can't even talk right now.
For sure.
And for the store, same socials? No.
Yes, ma'am. Same socials. I haven't been able to get a separate account yet or a separate name, but you can find everything at Still Magnolia.
Thank you so much for spending an hour with me this afternoon. I'm so glad this worked out because I when you first reached out a while ago, you kind of disappeared. I was like, oh my gosh, it'd be so great. We kind of went back and forth and then you kind of disappeared and then you popped up again. And I was like, okay, good. You're going to do this. So I'm really grateful that you spent the time and you reached back out because this was great.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been a blast. And it's cool being on the show. I've been listening for so long.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you.